Hello. Have you ever watched the birds in the winter? They're quieter. They're muted. Just this last weekend, I was noticing that. I was at my mom's, and she has a large, we call the bird welfare state, um, where she feeds the birds all winter. And I was looking, and there was an Eastern Goldfinch, which is the Iowa state bird. And normally they're vibrant, joyful. I mean, they're bright yellow, but these birds were all poofed up because it's cold here, and they're just grayish brown. I mean, they're barely recognizable, and they're in eclipse mode. And that's what Mother Nature does. It's a natural instinct that birds, their colors are dimmer, they're staying safe, they're not gone, but they're less visible. Have you been feeling that way lately? Well,
You
today
know,
on
sorry, I was going to say
Transpiration
it's funny
Tuesday.
you mentioned about the birds because I think Texas is a little bit warmer during wintertime. We get different birds coming
You
out,
get the
but
migratory guys. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yes,
Well, looking at these birds, and it made me think, because just the night before I did a presentation about holiday stress and everything, and really seeing how much the world is just changing.
mm,
There's a lot of change going on. But anyway, this is Transformation Tuesday. I'm Amanda Beth, an intuitive healer and wellness coach, and I am joined today by the amazing Andy Nam, functional longevity expert and cohort with the Chronic Health Collective. And I get to bring Andy into these sessions on Tuesdays, and we get to talk about a lot of things. And so the birds and going into eclipse, and it just kind of, as I talk to more people and I see the holiday stuff and hearing what people are not doing.
mm,
And the group of folks that I was with Friday night for that workshop and talking about holiday stress, it's like they're not stressing about a lot of the things that we used to stress about, wrapping presents and everything. And this year, budget is a big concern for a lot of people. And I'm just kind of looking and seeing, the budget is worldwide, I think. And
hmm
and Christmas, no matter what your physical holiday season is, because I know here in the northern hemisphere we're colder. But I also know I've got some networking folks in Australia, and it's hot there. It's just really hot. And it's hard for me to remember that. But just it brings in that there's a season for everything. And as we decrease our expectations, and I'm just kind of looking at, winter, everything's slowed down, we retreat, and humans do that as well. I think that we're just not as active. We don't go out in the cold. Same thing with the heat. When it's extreme heat, we don't go out in the heat either. But people are a lot of times less visibly, emotionally, and energetically available right now. So the birds going into eclipse, humans are kind of doing that survival. And then there's that mass collective expectation that this is the holiday season.
hmm
And there is so much expectation about your family system, but that brings up a lot of grief. And when we talk about grief, and grief being in many aspects, grief is not just the loss of someone, it's also the loss of relationships and everything. And then we look at how much technology, that
hmm
absolute overload and of information and what you should be doing. Do you feel that, Andy? Because I know we talked before about,
For sure. Technology nowadays is just so overwhelming. Um, it's just interesting because, like, we're Gen Xers. We grew up in the 80s, and the only technology we had back then, if we were lucky, is a TV with a VCR, right? Like, that's the only technology we got.
and we still
And
got up and changed the channel because the
yeah,
remotes did not work
exactly. And
consistently.
you know, I love where you're going, but I just wanted to share something recently. Like, me and Minna, we've been watching Stranger Things. I don't know if you watched that on Netflix.
It's been a few years, yeah.
But they're up to we binge watch it up to like season 5, right? And it's amazing because it takes place between 83 and 87. So it really gives us flashbacks of how life used to be. And because you bring up technology, they had all these emergency situations and they had walkie talkies because they can't get a hold of each other. It's like, man, they'll beat these monsters very easily if they had cell phones, they reach each other. You know what I'm saying? But we all lived and got by in the 80s, right? And life was so much simpler back then without the technology. So I just wanted to share that because, like, I think we depend so much on technology on our lives. It gets us distracted. It gets us depressed, seeing how comparing each other's lives. Back in the day,
Oh,
you have to go out
yeah.
and live it, right?
Yeah. Keeping up with the Joneses is a big thing.
Yeah.
But I remember going back, I was flying back from Florida with my daughter, and our seats were separated, and she was okay with that. But I talked to a young man,
Yeah.
and he was a new psychology graduate. And so I was comparing notes of going back
Mhm.
umpity ump years when I was a fresh psychology grad.
Yes.
And this would have been in, spring of 14, I think. And talking with him about, gosh, the world seems so much worse now. Is it really worse, or is it? And he said no, he doesn't think there is more disease, famine, there's not necessarily more, but it was the onslaught of the information. And this was
Yes.
back in 14, before
Yes.
every single living, breathing person had technology in their hand, in their pocket, wired to their ear, in their
Mhm.
glasses, everywhere. And I think it's really, really important to step back and to disconnect from a lot of those things. We're more aware, and it feels like there's so much worse going on.
Mhm.
And it's not more, but there's more media outlets, there's more social platforms, there's just so much more, and it's overwhelming. And I think that
Yes.
that also creeps into relationships. I mean, and once you see something on a feed, if you like it or you watched it more than 2 seconds, you're now gonna get an onslaught of that. You're just gonna see more of
True.
what you watched. If someone else sends you a clip and they say, "Here, watch this," now you're gonna see all of their stuff. It
Correct.
just the algorithms are incredible. And, yeah, so check your feed. What are you seeing right now with the holidays? When we were kids, it was the Sears catalog. Did you get the Sears catalog? It was the toy. And oh, those made those toys look so good.
They
Oh
were the
my
best.
goodness. And then we would get them and we're like, it doesn't really do that. So, but what are you seeing? And I think that in my feed, I'm seeing a lot of counseling and emotional things, as well as the hard sales. So as a business owner, I'm seeing, the end of the year, you screwed up this year. Let's buy in my program and we'll make it all better next year. We're getting those. But the emotional stuff. And yesterday, one of them that popped up on my feed a few times was talking about estrangement.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so it was a workshop. It was like, pop on right now to this workshop. And I did. I sat in on the workshop with this fella, and that's mostly what he deals with is estrangement. And it really enforced the core values of what I teach. And so here we are with a group of people in this workshop, and not being able to follow through with holiday traditions, and kind of getting hung up on the decisions that they've made around their family, having smaller gatherings, and being okay with it is a
Mhm.
struggle that they were having. And of course, Saturday morning started with the local holiday things, and the Santa Claus that was going to be at breakfast with the kids canceled. And so our
Wow.
household got contacted, and so we had the opportunity. I got to be an elf Saturday morning, bright and early. And then looking at the birds and how the birds are pulling back, and what the kids were asking for and stuff was really different. It was a different expectation because my children
Mhm.
are older now, and so we're not getting the kiddo things. So then this whole estrangement thing, and looking at where people have made choices and decisions within their family system. And I'm not talking necessarily just blood family, but
Mhm.
the people that you interact with. And as you change your circle, as you heal and grow, your circle changes naturally. But I just really wanted to, talk about that, what your personal decisions are and the things that you're living with, and having the discretion to know when it's okay to just recluse back and to focus on yourself to heal so that you are coming from the best possible healed you to be
Mhm.
making those decisions. So, do you ever feel that there's all the traditions you have to do that just really aren't fun anymore?
Christmas time's tough because, like you said, there were so many traditions growing up. Because I grew up in not a wealthy family, so Christmas becomes a big deal. Me and Min has been watching Christmas romances on TV lately, and there was there's a scene because I'm not even going to talk about the movie, but there's a scene they're trying to make it look like the Christmas tree looked amazing, and they were wrapping cereal boxes, right? And Minna says, "Why are they doing that?" And I looked at her. I said, "Well, my family did that because we weren't rich enough to buy presents, but we did not want our Christmas tree to look barren, so we actually are wrapping shoe boxes and stuff like that. So when people come over, I'm thinking back, wow, that was sort of silly. Like, who the hell was looking at our Christmas tree next to us, making us feel better that there were presents under the Christmas tree, right? But yeah, me and Minna didn't even put up our Christmas tree yet. We said we're gonna do it over the weekend, and I'm gonna try to get around this week before Christmas happens next week. But if it doesn't happen this week, I'm not gonna bother putting it up. It's like, what's the point of putting it up for like 5 days?
Well, and yeah, my in my house, the Christmas tree never went up before Thanksgiving. I mean, and then my kids would push it and push it. And it's like when the Thanksgiving dishes are done, then we can start talking Christmas. It usually goes up the first weekend in December. And
Right.
then as a business owner being more and more busy and
Mhm,
looking at,
exactly,
yeah, who is coming to my house? Who am I doing this for? And so the last
exactly.
few years, I'm fortunate that I have one of those pre-lit Christmas trees, and it's
Oh, I
got
love
some
it.
flocked pine cones and cranberries on it. So this is probably another year where that's as decorated as it's gonna get. I mean, there's a few special ornaments that always
Good.
come out, but and then knowing that it's going to fall on me to put it all away. And
Yeah,
what am I
exactly.
willing to do? I don't do
Mhm,
big entertaining, so I don't have to wrap up all the presents under the tree. But there was the status symbol and the keeping up with the Joneses.
mhm,
And I think it's
mhm,
really important to acknowledge that, well, Christmas falls in the same day every year. A lot of holidays are in this month of January, whether it's Christmas, Hanukkah, it's Kwanzaa, it's all
true.
of those. And I am not good at keeping track of them because, well, I would not do them justice. So I will just say I know there's a lot of holidays, and I want to honor those holidays for everyone. And knowing that this season may be the first season for a lot of people dealing with some new or recent estrangement, where your family members have essentially, you feel that they're withdrawn or they've turned on you, or you've
Mhm,
chosen to no longer interact with people who don't bring you peace and joy in your life.
mhm,
There may be a death, and this is the first season without that person present, and how you choose to celebrate that. So this distancing, this may be new. This may be new for people. So while there's supposed to be all this holiday cheer, please leave room for those who are not having that cheer. And I just want to make sure everybody knows that it's okay. If you're
mhm,
not feeling the holiday cheer, it's okay. It's okay to step back. You can sit the season out and not doing those traditional things. If those traditions bring you peace and joy, then yeah, by all means, get the tree out, do the presents, wrap some cereal boxes. But if it becomes more of a hassle, if you can't be fully on, and it doesn't bring, it costs you emotionally or physically, then it's
mhm.
probably not worth it. And I know, when the baby was little, we could claim baby status and we didn't have
Yeah,
to go places because it was it was too late, it was too cold, it was too whatever to take the baby out. So we played the baby card one year in doing that. And it just, as long as you're not going to get stuck in it and you don't allow this to create your identity, I think that's where it is. So encouraging everyone to gift themselves with the permission to pause and reflect, have this space that you're in, be it your eclipse, dull your colors down a little bit. You don't need to be shining as bright. And it's not necessarily retreating, but it's recalibrating, resetting, getting things ready, and deciding what things are important to you. So be a little less visible and do some healing. And that was one of the things I think in that workshop that I sat in last night on that whole estrangement thing, is that you can't begin to heal any relationship until you yourself are healed.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's a big thing. Would you say that's pretty true in relationships, Sandy?
I think that hits the nail on the spot, because so many people that goes from one relationship to another and they keep saying, why is it failing, is because, like you said, they haven't healed themselves yet, and they haven't figured out what they're looking for. If you keep looking for the same dang thing over and over again, you're guaranteeing yourself failure, right? It's just the whole thing about insanity, doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. So I think, like you said, in this season, so many people need to take some time for themselves to do some self-healing. And a lot of people don't want that because it makes them look weak, right? So
Yeah, yeah. And people, we talk about, we've talked about the mirrors and
Mhm.
that what the things that you're attracting to you are the things that
Mhm.
you need to heal inside. And so
Yes,
when certain people keep showing up in your life, that's so that you get, that's knocking on your door. This is the part you need to heal,
correct.
so that you're not doing those same things. And when you catch yourself in a cycle, look at the cycle. It's your
Mhm.
lesson. What can you pull from it? What can you work to heal in your being to not continue to repeat the cycle? And it's easier if you see the cycle rather than someone else say, you got another one on the hook just like the last one. What are you doing different? You're not.
Correct.
So
Exactly.
take this winter time, allow yourself to kind of just step back. It's not a breakdown, but it's probably a breakthrough in
Mhm.
disguise. And usually right before something really great and wonderful happens in our lives, we go through some really challenging times right before that. So maybe look
Agreed.
at this as your breakthrough in
Yeah.
disguise. Trees drop their leaves, birds dim their feathers. It's nothing wrong. It's just part of the cycle. And so give yourself that grace to really just expand into that. So
I
I
love that.
I think that if we were to look at some beliefs to clear with some theta here, it'd be the obligation to have a breakdown before a breakthrough, the obligation to love other people at the expense of yourself. Because it's not helping you and it's not helping them. It's coming from a falseness, painted
Mhm.
on feathers rather than true vibrant feathers, if you
Mhm.
will. And it feels like there's that feeling or sense that it's a sin for you to heal, that you have to stay in a state where you feel broken. First of all, you're not broken. We just
Mhm.
need to do some healing. But for you to feel happy and to feel joy feels like it's a sin. So let's remove that. And let's remove that it's a sin to love yourself. And I think one of the biggest ones is the obligation to maintain traditions. If you'd like those beliefs, just say yes out loud. Type yes in the comments, hashtag replay yes, and you'll receive the work if you'd like it. So just say yes out loud.
Yes.
And we'll throw in that forgiveness work as well, to forgive ourselves, our higher power, and the other people that help create these negative beliefs. Those family traditions. Oh goodness. My brother, when I had moved out and my mom sent Christmas ornaments to me, and my brother helped pick out which ornaments, and there were ornaments and my brother and I went back and forth every year. One, they were porcelain, one had a church, and one had a fireplace, and we went back and forth as to whose ornament was whose. It's kind of rotated each year. And my brother had to make the decision as to which one to send me because he's 6 years younger than I. And he wrote a note and it says, don't F with tradition. And I think he was like 12 or 13. I still have it. I came across it in all my purgings. I can't wait to just show that to him again. Say, do you remember this? But yeah, letting go of some of those traditions, it's okay. And just remember, you don't have to do any of this alone. If this is your first holiday navigating loss, grief, or estrangement, it's not that you're broken. It's you're becoming, you're growing, you're healing. Give yourself that time and grace to do that. There are so many coaches and guides out there. There's people in your community looking to your congregation or any of the other support groups in the area. Look through that. But you need to first name what it is that you're feeling. If it doesn't feel right, you gotta name it. And then find someone who is experienced who can help you walk through this because you're not alone.
I love that.
Yeah. If you want to take it just a little bit further, I'll give you a journal prompt for those of you who like to journal about everything. And the journal prompt would be, where in my life am I being called to go to eclipse, not disappear, but to protect your peace? So what is it in your life that's calling you to just kind of bring it in and do some self-care there?
Oh, I like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And then how are you going to do it? Of course, that would be the next step. If you want to connect with me directly, that would be at amandabethhealing.com. /Linktree will get you to all my socials, or just go straight to the website, amandabethhealing.com. And, we can do a discovery call, learn a little bit more about the services. And then there's also the Chronic Health Collective, where we have several coaches in so many aspects of life to go on and create the happiness that you have. So that would be the chronichealthcollective.com. We're on Facebook and YouTube as well. So you can connect with other coaches and find one that's a right fit for you, that's talking where you feel you're stumbling at that point.
I love that. That is amazing, Amanda.
All right. Thanks, Andy. We'll see you all again next Tuesday, right here live on Facebook and LinkedIn at 11:30 Central Time.
Goodbye.